Thousands of young protesters marched towards Parliament. Police reportedly responded with tear gas, pellet guns and nail-studded lathis. New Delhi. The Supreme Court has said pellet guns cannot be banned as long as the existing advisory permits their use for crowd control in exceptional circumstances by security agencies, while making it clear that allegations of specific misuse can be examined on a case-by-case basis. Over 100 people were injured and 22-year-old also reportedly lost his eyesight. So the question is, what does Indian law actually permit when it comes to using force to control an assembly? Joining us live at this point is Rakesh Dwivedi, senior advocate. Rakesh Dwivedi, this of course has become a national debate now, both inside Parliament and outside as well. What does the law say about force being used and permitted in exceptional circumstances while controlling crowds?
See, under the law, it's ultimately with the magistrates and the senior officials of the police who are on the spot who have to decide, depending upon the threat of breach of peace, law and order which they perceive. So all methods are open to them. They can use persuasion to begin with. They can bear some of the onslaughts of breaking of barriers, etc., which they should do. They can use water cannons, they can use. So ordinarily one would expect that in the initial phases it should be a persuasion followed by some light touch prevention methods, and especially when there are students, etc., they should not use lathi charge, but if the crowd goes berserk and they break the barriers, they march all various routes and then they reach Parliament, then it becomes a serious matter. And in that event, use of tear gas, and if that doesn't help, then there's no option but to resort to some mild force, and lathi charge is considered to be a mild force. And as we have witnessed from the programs which you have been showing and the videos you have been showing, about 170 policemen were hurt with serious injuries. Many of them had to be taken to the hospital. So, and even the leaders of the movement, they have made a clear statement that many unwarranted antisocial elements had infiltrated into their crowds. Of course, some of them accuse that it is the police which is trying to do it in plain clothes and so on. But with 170 policemen hurt, it is difficult to say that they hired people to pelt stones on themselves and get hurt in such a magnitude. So it is evident that these social elements who are not part of their movement according to the leaders, they have therefore no case today now to say that they should not be prosecuted. Either the CJP should own them and say that they were part of their crowd and therefore part of their agreement with the government, and they should be, in spite of their crime, which is a serious crime, it is obstruction of the government servants in discharge of their duty, it is assault on the police while on duty, and an attempt to breach peace, enter Parliament and disrupt Parliament when the Parliament is engaging in important discussions. So therefore, as I see it, the police were right in resorting to lathi charge, and that is well within the law, and that is why the Supreme Court has said that while with regard to students who are studying in smaller classes below 18 years, the government should be lenient.
But do you believe, Mr. Dwivedi, the Supreme Court needs to frame guidelines? Are the adequate guidelines not enough? Should new guidelines be framed pertaining to protests?
I'm sure they will be doing so, but that will have to be done after hearing everyone, the government side and the student side and whoever else wants to intervene.
Okay.
Because Supreme Court doesn't work one way. It does. It
Okay.
has a process.
Okay.
It will hear and then issue guidelines. But right now, as an interim measure, they have said that those below 18, they should be treated sympathetically with empathy. But those who have been uh, are charged, and there are videos, and police has got pictures of them, criminals, hardcore criminals, murderers, and how can they be? And why should CJP? If CJP is espousing their cause, then I'm sorry that CJP will lose a lot of face and have a lot, to bear a lot
Absolutely.
of.
That distinction is needed, as you're saying. Okay, before we let you go, one final question on pellet guns as well. What does the law say on pellet guns and their use and admissibility?
Should not be used easily. I mean, it's not a light thing. And I don't know whether pellet guns were used by the police. We have seen just one or probably two persons who have got pellet injuries. Of course, one seems to have been seriously injured. If police is using pellet guns, I would have expected a large number of people being injured with pellet guns. It's quite possible that these antisocial elements who were there, they may have used it on
Yes.
and because of that one person has got injured. It is very surprising that only one person, which Mr. Rahul Gandhi is showing, is injured with pellets, but thousands of people who are there, none of them are having pellet injuries. So it is very doubtful that police on the contrary, there is a video which shows that an RAF person, rapid action force personnel, has been chased, and he had a gun. He could have fired the gun. He shot the gun, but he did not fire. Look at the restraint of that RAF person.
Yes.
How can he fire a pellet gun when a person with a live gun and is not firing and is being chased? And in another case, the policeman was being virtually lynched.
Okay. 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 Let me, in fact, thank you there, Rakesh Dwivedi, for joining us with your perspective, and also introduce our other guests who are also live with us. Sanjay Sahai, former ADGP, Karnataka, joins us. Adit Kothari, international affairs expert, live with us. Varun Singh, senior journalist, is also joining us live. Amber Zaidi, social activist, also with us on the broadcast. Sanjay Sahai, do you believe that pellet guns were used in that protest? If so, was it needed? If you believe they were not used, then how have these pictures and why are these pictures being used by certain opposition leaders?
Let's go by whatever is available in the public domain. And public domain provides you a large number of evidences in favor of pellet guns being used. The number and number of rounds which have been used might be a matter of conjecture or discussion, because we don't have the details of it. But broadly, the medical examination of these people, plus the treatment and the medical forensics involved, inclusive of the summary of the wound, I think that provides a reasonable amount of clarity with regards to the pellet guns being used. Secondly, when you get to the video part of it, the video forensics, you get the video forensics done, it will be sufficient enough today to throw out the nature of the gun. Even you go by a simple Google search and you show any item or any object from the Google search, it is able to tell you as to what the object is, what the make is, who the manufacturer is. Delhi police, by whatever logic, they said that the pellet guns have not been used by them. Technically, they can say it has not been used by them, but it was used by RAF, which was currently or at that particular point in time under the territorial and administrative jurisdiction and control of the local Deputy Commissioner of Police. So either the Deputy Commissioner of Police or the Assistant Commissioner of Police, they would have given the orders. If you go by the station house entry, there is a very clear-cut entry at the Parliament Street police station, if I'm not mistaken. Also, the internal inquiry in CRPF RF has also indicated to the same. So that is where the legal position, practical position of pellet guns stand. Pellet guns was first used in this country in 2010 in Jammu and Kashmir. 2016 it was again used in Puranwani after that episode. And there are lots of people who were blinded. I think only yesterday I saw one of the channels that 41 lakh rupees has been released for a gas agency to one of the victims of 2016 pellet gun tragedy. So pellet guns technically, legally can be used anywhere in the country, but it has not been used in any of the civilian areas. Whether pellet gun is a part of the normal standard arms which is being provided to RAF in different theaters of law and order situation, or in an exceptional way it was provided in Delhi, or the whole command structure is unaware of the fact as to where it is being provided and where it is not being provided, and somebody at the ground level at his own discretion decides to do whatever he has done. Now, how the pellet guns are used?
Yes.
So it is you cannot aim and fire.
Okay.
So it basically, the whole thing bursts and it goes into different directions. So
Okay.
the standard procedure of whatever I have been able to find out, so it is at least 50 meters away from the target or the general range of the target.
Yes.
Then it's been told that you should use deflectors, which primarily means that it will go below the waist or below the knee, as the case may be. So broadly, these are two precautions. So now 2-3 facts which needed clarification. One is whether it has been used, not been used. There is nobody in the governmental machinery
Right.
who is saying that it is
Okay.
not
Okay.
used.
I'll come back to you.
Second-
Let me bring in the others as well. Quickly, Adit Kothari, come in here now on what the police families have come out and said today as well. The police families have also fought back. They've said, why is a one-sided narrative only gaining ground, that it was the police using force on the protesters? What about those who turned violent? What about the policemen who got injured? Why is no one speaking up for them? Why is there no protest being held for them? Why is there no candlelight vigil happening for them? Adit Kothari, is that a fair assertion being put forth by the families today?
Absolutely a fair assertion, and it's quite tragic that they are not being represented by any part of our civil society, unfortunately, because the moment we talk about the police force, we automatically equate them to being somebody who use force with impunity, and that is what it's essentially come to. But the real risk is not about the legal impunity, but the political and operational pressure on the police, to which they are basically being told to avoid registering and pursuing cases aggressively. And that seems to be the bane of our problem, where the government of the day is falling to the pressures of hostage politics. This was a student-led protest, very vital issues, but then it got hijacked by every other political entity which is opposed to the current government of the day. When that happened and the existing peripheral of the protest side was breached, and you had the barricades being broken, that automatically gives a right to the police to basically come down and ensure that it doesn't spiral out of the peripheral and disturb civil disobedience or civil lives in general. What Advocate Sai basically pointed out was absolutely correct. The pellet guns were not used by the Delhi police, but it was in fact used by the RAF, which I believe that there were 7 rounds which were fired, and about 3 people were basically held casualties as a consequence. So they must be held accountable. Whether or not the SOP was followed is a pertinent question that needs to be answered, and that the courts need to be asking those compelling questions. But the bane of the problem is the police and the forces and the governmental forces who have fallen casualties are not represented, because the social media patterns do not recognize them as casualties. They recognize them as the aggressors, which is why the sympathy is on the side of the protesters. This is a game of the narrative, and this is why I think the government of the day needs to come out and take mantle about the governmental narratives. Because to be fair, from the farmers' protest to the demonetization to everything we've seen in Shaheen Bagh, the one thing that is a summary, that this government's communication needs a massive overhaul. They need to go down to the drawing board in principle with that.
Varun Singh, let me get you in here on, of course, this press conference today and this movement finally that we're seeing for the police as well. The law enforcers, their families speaking up, their families saying that questioning why no one is shedding a tear for them, why no one is, taking up their cause, no political party is speaking up for them, no candlelight vigils are being held for them, no protests are being held for them, Varun Singh. Why have we forgotten about the policemen who ensured that the violence did not spread, who ensured that certain protesters did not enter parliament and possibly cause vandalism there? We've all seen what happened in our neighborhood. That thankfully did not happen here because of alacrity of the forces and of course also because of restraint by certain quarters in students. But for the violent elements, why are we being sympathetic to them and not to the policemen?
Uday, to be very honest, let me tell you, the police doesn't have an advocacy group. They do not have humanitarian groups who would come and speak for them. But I would just say that let's step back from who's shouting louder on which side and ask a simpler question. Who is actually establishing the truth here? Right now, we have Delhi Police's own numbers, over 100 personnel injured, and we have hospital records showing dozens of protesters injured, including disputed claims about pellet guns and wounds that police deny, two completely versions of the same day. And the only people investigating it are the police themselves, who are also part of the same party. That's not accountability, in my opinion. And as the Constitution says, Article 14 of our Constitution guarantees equality before the law, not equality in theory, equality in practice. If a protester's injury deserves an independent inquiry, so does the police officers. And under Article 21, both the protester and the constable have an equal claim to bodily safety and due process. The Constitution doesn't rank whose blood is more, matters over here more or not. And that is the reason why in the past also the Supreme Court has recognized that when the state itself is a party to the violence, self-investigation fails. The basic test of fairness laid down under Article 21, the right to a fair and impartial process is to be followed. And hence, the question that you have been raising about an SC, Supreme Court appointed commission, it has to be there and it has to be from the Supreme Court, not by the Home Ministry, not by the Delhi Police. Because, when it comes, it brings itself, when a Supreme Court commission comes in, it brings with itself three things: judicial oversight instead of departmental, and self-review, forensic verification of disputed claims, like the pellet gun allegations that we are talking about, and most importantly, a report that both sides, the protesters and police, can actually trust, and the common public can trust because it is not coming from the police. Because right now, nobody trusts anybody or anybody's number. And in a democracy, when trust breaks down, that badly, don't settle it on such discussions or debates or press conferences that we are seeing. It has to be settled with an independent judicial body. And that's not anti-police, that's not anti-protesters. That's just as per the Constitution, which is equality before the law and is applied to everyone honestly in a way that everyone gets justice. And that is what I want to say, that it is very simple, that police do not have a voice. They do not have a union from where they can raise these things. They do not have a social media presence. They do not have a spokesperson like the CJP. So absolutely right when you say that police have been demonized over here and they need to be spoken. And I don't think if the police carries out an investigation, it would be considered as fair because they are themselves a party. And hence a Supreme Court-led commission has to be brought in that will clearly give us clear picture of what happened, what not. And it would be in a time frame. Police investigations go in the cupboard, they rarely come out and it is not trusted by everyone. But when we have a Supreme Court commission, when we have judges or when we have people from the society, when they go and investigate, it is every story that comes out, and that is what I think should be done in this case.
Okay, I want to take that to Amber Zaidi as well. Amber Zaidi, of course, we are seeing how the police and their families are fighting back. Do you believe that this narrative is, of course, unfortunate, that just the police were the oppressors? The other side of the argument also needs to be looked at, Amber Zaidi. Also, Amber Zaidi, at the end of the day, should there be now, proper rules and regulations in how to deal with protests? Are we losing track of how to deal with protests, where pellet guns are responsible and should be used and where they shouldn't? Supreme Court says there can't be a ban on them, but should there be proper rules and regulations and SOPs as well?
Beneath we have already enough rules and regulations for protest and everything. Also the SOP for police as well. But now the debate is no longer about the politics. It is about trust and it is also about the justice. Because now and also about the question is that every democracy must have this answer when the street becomes the battleground, as we are saying that, and also every now and then as we all stay in Delhi and we see how street turns. Every protester, the rises and everything. Who investigated it? Now the question is for days. We all are seeing that people are, on road demanding justice for students and NEET, UG, and this the rise of CJB we are seeing. Protesters have alleged that the excessive use of force. Now the police personnel have reported being attacked while, carrying out their duty. Videos flooded online, social media. We have seen on social media all the narratives. Political parties have, they have rushed with their own narrative and defending their own narrative or party or version, whatever they want to. But everyone has the version of event, and everyone, they are telling something and their side of the story. But now and today, this, what has changed that police family, they have come out, the families, the injured, the injured personnel of police, and they are saying that, when such families, they step on public and comes in spotlight, they are, asking that to the country that what we need to remember is that something today has changed, and many of us that we often forget that behind every uniform is a family, is a mother waiting for their son to return home, and a wife waiting for her husband to return, who are giving their time and sacrificing their personal life and families and also their lives to ensure safety for us. And often when we see such a kind of protest or any situation, we always demonize the police that they have forced and enforced action, or they have they haven't followed the SOPs and everything. But they've also deserve the equal rights as the earlier panelists have mentioned.
Yes.
So I think we need to follow the equal.
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Sanjay Sai, 30 seconds to you. 30 seconds to you, an alternative point of view. You're interestingly a policeman. You're interesting a policeman, but you have been sympathetic to students as well. I'll leave you the last one. I'll leave you the last one.
No. See, what I am saying is we cannot run the governance on social media. And unfortunately, what has happened last couple of years, everything has shifted to the social media. That has become a very big challenge. And policemen cannot come up with sob stories. And policemen and the government, if they have to carry their narrative to social media, it will become very, very difficult to run the governance of this country. Police are well within their powers. They have registered the cases. They should pick up the accused. They should gather the evidence, and they should file the charge sheet. Till today, I don't know even if 5-10 people have also been arrested. And out of those 2,800 people, how many people actually participated in these 13 cases? And out of the other 50,000 or 60,000, how many of them participated in the criminal acts in those offences which have been registered? And both should stand the same chance of criminality being put on them.
Okay, let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. We're slipping into a very short break.